Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. We are reading from A Cosmopolitan of Nations, a compilation of Giuseppe Mazzini's writings. And today I'm going to be reviewing Rules for the Conduct of Guerrilla Bands. So this is in 1832, and Giuseppe Mazzini is envisioning the revolution to unite Italy, and so he has these rules on how the guerrilla bands should conduct themselves. And so this is 1832. So many years before the 1848 revolutions, a century before Mao Zedong and his writings on guerrilla warfare. And so there are some differences between what he points out here and what really a lot of the canon of 20th century, early 20th century guerrilla warfare writing talks about. So he starts off. It's kind of like a manual, but it's a manual but it's written in very, I guess, prosaic. It's not, there aren't any bullet points or anything. He talks about, respecting the people, respecting, their religion, having toleration for different types of people in different areas of Italy. Also how to run internally, so that's pretty interesting. Talks about Alci's booty is the collective property of the band, and they should see fit. So they're almost like anarcho-communists, when it comes to how they conduct themselves. But there are officers, and he talks about how that unit should be mostly from that area, so you shouldn't be having, so you get into regional differences and conflict that way. If you can avoid that if you have people who are all from that area, or mostly from that area. Talks about what officers should be doing. That's pretty interesting. Talks about the numbers. 25 to 50 men. It talks about uniforms, how maybe the officer can have a shirt, but really, he says the uniform of the bands will be a shirt or blouse. During the first period of the war, they should perhaps better avoid all uniform and content themselves with the national cockade. Okay, so he's alluding to different stages of the war. So you have guerrillas, and then you have, then they can form into a... Okay, so he goes on to talk about, secrecy and spying, how to gather intelligence. Talks about some tactics. Talks about ambushes, and that's really what the guerrillas are going to be better at. Talks a lot about ambush towards the end, but he really sees this as urban warfare, urban guerrillas, rather than the agrarian, more rural guerrillas that you saw in the 20th century. Probably because of the nature of Italy at the time. Wasn't really industrial. Well, I guess it was starting to industrialize at that time. Not as much as as Britain and France or the U.S., or maybe even not as much as Germany at that time. But it was beginning, and it was urban, probably more urban in the north than in the south, but he needed to get the northern kingdoms together before the rest of it. So I think he saw that he would be, they would be operating in places like, like the city of Venice, the city of Florence, the city of Rome, Bologna, his native Genoa, Naples, before they went went out into the countryside. So that's all I got for out of this. If you want me to go into further detail, I could leave a comment below if that would be valuable for you, and I could make another video. Yeah, so this is really interesting. He's thinking ahead to when the people have to rise up to unify Italy, and they would have to start with these rough guerrilla bands, but they would have to be operating in more urban areas. So until next time, long live the Republic.